Alrighty then, my Jedi and Sith friends, hello and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So great to see you here again, whether it's your first video on the channel or you've been here for years. Thank you for joining me as we take another deep dive into the galaxy far, far away. And today, we've got a very interesting Star Wars update. We're talking about George Lucas's Padawan, boots on the ground, hat on his head, riding the galaxy with a lasso in one hand, and the future of the Star Wars franchise in the other. That's my very creative way of saying that we're talking about Dave Filoni, who's been giving a range of different interviews in light of Disney's recent D23 Expo event. And a soundbite that's been making the rounds is when Dave reveals his general plan and goal as the new Lucasfilm co-president. We've heard rumour after rumour that Dave Filoni wants to do this and that, he wants to steer the Star Wars franchise in this direction, or he wants to make this film or this trilogy, but the fact of the matter is, he's not said too much on the record. But today, we actually have some official comments from him. And this comes just a couple of months after he said that Star Wars is entering a different era. We're not in 2015 anymore. The hype levels are different, the Star Wars fandom is in a different place, and so Lucasfilm can't look at things the same way as they once did. And so now, in a panel which focused on park experiences and how Disney is going to continue to incorporate their various IPs, Dave Filoni outlined his mission statement, not just for Galaxy's Edge, but his overarching philosophy for the Star Wars brand on the whole. He says, quote, "I'm aware we have several different generations of Star Wars fans. There's original trilogy fans, prequel fans, sequel fans, Clone Wars fans, Expanded Universe fans, and they all have different interests. And I always look at how we're going to serve all of these different interests. And most importantly, how do we bring them all together? Because they have this shared, common love of Star Wars." So that's the quote, and it's a simple enough response. He's very aware of the fact that Star Wars fans are not a monolith, and naturally he wants to reach the widest audience possible, and in a way, appease every individual subsection of Star Wars fan. But interestingly enough, there's been a ton of backlash to his response, especially from fans who believe that Star Wars should take a more streamlined approach. They say it doesn't matter if someone's a prequel fan or a sequel fan or whatever else, they should just focus on a good Star Wars story. Whether it's shows, standalone movies, another trilogy, if it's executed well, everyone will be happy. Some people are saying that by trying to please everyone, you're gonna end up pleasing no one. Now, while I agree with this sentiment that Star Wars should focus on one consistent storyline, in 2026, the Star Wars fandom is more divided than ever before. There is no unanimous agreement on what good Star Wars is, or what it could be. There are Andor fans who hate the Acolyte fans who don't like anything but the Acolyte, there's the Clone Wars fandom, Hunt for Ben Solo fans who want more sequel content, so in a sense, I can see where Dave is coming from, in wanting to make lots of different projects set in different parts of the timeline, each with their own distinct tone and feel, and with Disney Plus, that's easier to do than ever before. We already know that Dave has plans for a new trilogy with Simon Kinberg, new animated shows, and live action ones in the works. So it's not really surprising to hear him say that he wants Star Wars to connect to various types of fans across different generations. A CEO of any entertainment studio would say the same thing. But I think there's a bit of a problem with the way Dave Filoni has framed this philosophy. I think he's talking about the diehard fans. Your average Star Wars cinema goer who doesn't follow the franchise religiously is probably going to be less picky. So I definitely agree that there should be something for everyone, but at the same time, they should put their focus into one main narrative through line, which I think is what they're doing with the rumoured episodes 10, 11 and 12. As well as the Mandoverse, as well as Clone Wars projects, anime series and Vision spin-offs, there should still be one ongoing saga that is the heart of the future of the franchise. Star Wars Starfighter is a very good start. You're plunging the galaxy into an untapped period of time, and as Sean Levy said, there are no governments around. There is no resistance government, there is no First Order, just remnants, scoundrels, and warlords. And to me, that sounds like the bedrock to a very exciting future trilogy. With some familiar characters but mostly new ones, if done well, that kind of story can be enjoyed by all fans. The older generations who saw the original trilogy in theaters, prequel fans, sequel fans, everyone. It sounds ambitious, but I think it can be done. And you have this trilogy in addition to all of the other stuff. The Age of the New Republic, the New Jedi Order, the Clone Wars, the Dark Times, you name it. But what I'm saying is, if they truly want something for everyone, they should also start creating something new. And I'll tell you what's crazy to me, because if we talk about the different subsections of fans that he wants to appease, where it comes to the more familiar aspects of the Star Wars universe, they're not even maximizing their potential in that regard. I think Ahsoka Season 2 is going to do a lot in terms of nostalgia and I guess what you would call member berries, flashbacks, Clone Wars fan service, whatever you want to call it. But then I think about characters like Kenobi and Boba Fett, and I'm wondering why haven't they done more with them? I mean, sure, the first season of both of their respective shows were a bit controversial, but that doesn't mean fans are sick of them. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Fans still love Ewan McGregor, and they love Tamara Morrison. Even if the Kenobi show had some really weird creative choices, and even if the Book of Boba Fett didn't reach its full potential, fans would still be on board for a better written version of these two beloved characters. They seem to think we don't want any more of them. And just a couple of days ago, Hayden Christensen came out and said that in addition to himself and Ewan McGregor, Samuel L. Jackson and Natalie Portman want to come back. When he's spoken to them, they confirmed to him that they'd return in a heartbeat. And like I say, two very different approaches to the future of Star Wars can coexist. You can do all the nostalgia-based stuff while also moving the saga forward in your main trilogy. But I'll tell you what surprised me the most, and that's the fact that Dave Filoni acknowledged the expanded universe as the expanded universe. He didn't call it Star Wars Legends, he opted to use its proper name. That's a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. But as a couple of fans have pointed out, in the past, he's alluded to the High Republic books as the expanded universe, so maybe I wouldn't get too excited about this. But if he does mean the old expanded universe, then maybe my theory about Lucasfilm wanting to do more with the Old Republic could be true. Not just in the video games and action figures, but an actual live action or animated show. But as I said, fans have had a very mixed response to these comments. This person says, "You don't. Remove the sequels from canon. That's the only way Star Wars moves forward as an IP." And this criticism is never going to go away. No matter how good Ahsoka is, no matter how good The Mandalorian is, or any future New Republic spin-offs, at the back of fans' minds, we know that it ends with Luke on Ahsoka, episodes 7, 8, and 9. And because I very, very severely doubt they're ever going to decanonize the sequel trilogy, it's just something they're going to have to move beyond. Now, personally, I love the New Republic. I love what they're doing in Ahsoka. I love what they did in Mando's first 2 seasons. I was even a big defender of most of the Book of Boba Fett. I guess I live by the philosophy of, if I don't like a project, it's not canon to me. Same with the expanded universe. Some of my favorite novels like Darth Plagueis, Cloak of Deception, they will always remain canon, even if Disney slaps the Legends label on it. So where it comes to the sequel trilogy, I just want to focus on the story and the characters from the shows that I do like, even if it does eventually connect to The Force Awakens. This person says, "It's so simple. Make a Clone Wars style show about Luke, Han and Leia post Return of the Jedi." I've been saying this for years. If they don't want to do more of the CG Luke, just tell his story between episodes 6 and 7 in animated form. Kids and teens will watch it, adults will too, as it leads up to The Force Awakens, and old-timers will, as it's stories about the OG Big Three. But I keep my fingers crossed. I'm labelled all kinds of things when I say this, but I still have faith in Dave Filoni. The Ahsoka Season 2 trailer looked pretty darn impressive, and I want to give him a chance, especially in light of the fact we won't know anything concrete about the future of Star Wars until Celebration in April, so I reserve judgment until we get clarification. And so finally, my dear friends, in addition to these comments, in his own way, Dave Filoni has reinterpreted Yoda's do or do not quote from The Empire Strikes Back. Now honestly, I do find this a bit hilarious, because the quote is simply about mindset. If you're going to commit to doing something, just do it. It's not literally saying don't try, but it's advising that you go into it with the mindset that you're going to succeed. But here's what Dave said. Yoda says, "Do or do not. There is no try." And people say, "But Dave, I try all the time." I'm like, right, because you're not doing. Trying doesn't mean that you're winning or that you're accomplishing, but it means you're doing your best. Do your best and just get going. And don't just half try. Don't not commit. Luke isn't completely committing to his path and his journey and what he's doing. Yoda's trying to say, no, just do it, Luke. It doesn't matter if you're the best at it, but just do it, and you'll learn and you'll progress. And that, for George, was always one of the most fundamental things about the Force. It's part of something that everybody has, but you have to train, you have to work, you have to learn. And as you learn, you grow, and that knowledge grows. This is a very long-winded way of saying that it's all about mindset. It's all about committing, as simple as that. As he says, don't go into it half-assed. Go into it thinking that you will accomplish. But in light of all of these comments, what do you guys think? And if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the force be with you always.